Hey toy collectors, welcome to another super exciting outrageous toy review. Today we're taking a look at the Cobra Island G.I. Joe Classified's Major Bludd figure. Special thanks to my friends Rose and Tony from RetroCon for hooking me up with this figure. I think Hasbro's finally figured out what the fans want. We're getting highly detailed figures that are really similar in design to their vintage figures. Slightly modernized, a little bit more armored maybe, but they've dropped some of the techno aspects that they seem to be adding to the basic troopers like Duke and Roadblock. And here we've got Major Bludd, who always had a little sci-fi element to him with the armored arm, and he looks fantastic. So here we've got Major Bludd looking incredible. He's got so many awesome little details. I love that he's got accessories that kind of match his vintage figure as well as a new gun. The padding on his chest is slightly updated. The armor on his boots and knee pads and everything really make him look great. I love that the missiles are removable from his backpack and his gun can peg onto that. He's got a working holster. Just all these really nice details that work together to make a really great figure. And this time his arm does actually seem mechanical. A little mystery that's always been hard for Joe fans to get a definitive answer on there. He's looking very mechanical this time. So here we are with Major Bludd. He's got his signature mustache and eye patch. He's got some scarring on his face to add to the story of how he lost his eye. He's got a pretty great looking helmet, and it's removable. He's got a small patch of hair on the top of his head. It's got a little gray stripe in that. This looks pretty great. It also reminds me a lot of kind of what they were doing with G.I. Joe in the mid-2000s in the comic. A little bit of this design seems to have influenced this figure. He's got his dog tag collection around his neck here. This comes straight from the vintage figure where he collected dog tags from people he had killed. I wonder if General Flag's dog tag's in there. So we can see all the padding here in his armor. And it's kind of like a dirt bike chest protector, very Dreadnought-like. I wonder if they could reuse this for a Dreadnought at some point for Thrasher or somebody like that. He's got a little bit of detailing and a little armored plate on this arm, while his either armored or completely mechanical arm is on the other side here. The reason I'm saying this one seems to be mechanical is the fingers. The fingers aren't bulky at all. If you were wearing an armored glove, your fingers would be bigger on the mechanical hand or the armored hand than the other one, and they're very thin and very robotic. So I'm thinking this is a robotic arm on this iteration of Bludd. He's got a belt with some little details on that. It goes down to a holster on his hip. He can hold either one of his guns, actually, but I believe it's made for this gun, which just looks bad. Awesome. He's got his brown pants going down here, some knee pads, and some boot covers, and some steel tips on the boots. We kind of know what to expect with these guys. Major Bludd's got articulation at the head, moves up and down, side to side, all the way around. His shoulders can move around to the side, out to the side, swivel at the bicep, double-jointed elbows. He's got swivels at the wrists. The other arm has this pad on it that pivots. It's got the same type of articulation, but of course that pad does hinder its movement to some degree. Double-jointed elbow again. The swivel at this wrist does have a hinge in it, giving him a really great range of motion at that wrist. He's got some pivot and crunch going on in his torso there. The armor does hinder that a little bit as the armor bumps up against his belt, but you can get him to bend at the waist there as needed. He's got hip articulation. Again, you got the straps for the holsters, but they seem to be pretty flexible, really not getting in the way too much there. There's a swivel in the thigh, double-jointed knees. He has a boot cut articulation point, as well as swivels and pivots in the ankle there. Just, a really well-done figure. I love the amount of detail and flexibility we're getting in these guys. That helmet does pop off kind of easy as you're posing him around, but it stays on well enough, like it doesn't fall off of him. And then we really got to talk about this backpack. He's got a little backpack. It can hold 2 rockets. They are removable. Pegged into the side is a gun that looks very much like his vintage gun. And we can actually plug the missiles into the end. They look a little bit long like that. I'm not actually super wild about the way that works out. I feel like it should go inside the barrel a little bit, but to have the ability to add the missile to it or have them on the backpack, that's kind of a neat feature, so I guess I can overlook the slightly silliness of this. I feel like people aren't going to display him with the missile there. They'll probably just display him with this, because this harkens back to that original gun. I mean, you see this and you go, oh yeah, that's Major Bludd's weapon. And if they gave you a third one or a short one that just kind of pegged in on the end, that would have been super ideal, I think. You'd have the full ones in the backpack, and then a partial one that could go in the weapon would be really cool. But I can't complain, because this guy looks fantastic. The good news with Major Bludd is that he seems to be a little bit easier to find. The Target exclusives have been terrible, and it really does make it hard to be a fan of a line when you can't get the figures. I know we are our own worst enemies with the toy scalpers going out and buying the stuff up when they get to stores, but I do feel like people are seeing these a little bit more. I'm so happy and thankful that my friends Rose and Tony were able to pick this up for me very early on in the release of the figure, because it just alleviated all that trouble for me, and just, I really, really appreciate that kind of thing. So, in the comments down below, let me know what you think of Major Bludd. Was this a favorite character of yours as a kid? I always thought he was kind of odd, because he wasn't really Cobra. I didn't really totally understand Mercenaries as a kid. I do remember asking my parents, and they said that he fights for that side, but isn't really part of the team. And that made sense to me. As I got a little bit older and I read the comic, then it made a lot more sense, as the gun for hire kind of thing. But also my life experience was just a little bit more, so I could comprehend that idea of being a bad guy but not being with these bad guys as much, or working for these bad guys even though you're not really part of the team. Hasbro's design team did a fantastic job on this figure. I'm really excited to see what we get moving forward with this line. Keep cranking out these vintage-inspired guys with slight modern updates. I love the direction they're going with this line now more than I did at the start. Thanks for watching this super exciting, outrageous toy review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos.